Hi everyone and welcome back to my Consultant Explorer channel. I'm Charlie and I'm here to help you explore the early career years of technology consulting, help you to be successful at it and show you how to make the most of the opportunities that it can open up for you. I spent 8.5 years at Accenture building the most incredible launchpad for my own career, and now that I'm starting and running my own businesses, I get to choose what I work on whenever and wherever I want to in the world. And that is the kind of freedom I can help you find in your journey, which starts just as mine did in technology consulting. So, one of the special things about consulting is that you sort of live a double work life. On the one hand, you're part of a client project and you often spend time in your client office with your project team. But on the other hand, you're part of a consulting company with its own office and its own teams. So, how do consultants split their time? Do they ever work with just their consulting colleagues on something non client related? Or is all work always somehow relating back to a client project? The simple answer is consultants definitely do spend time on things that aren't client related. In fact, there are lots of things that are internal or extracurricular like this that consultants do. And generally, these things are really important because often they can help sell more client work, they can help to bind communities together, and they can help people to develop their skills and careers. Sometimes consultants can spend whole days or whole weeks on internal work, often if they're between projects, for example. But more commonly, consultants are on longer term project roles, and so they have to find ways to weave this internal work into their client project days. So, in this video, I'm going to give you a sense of how that feels. And to do that, I'm going to walk you through all the different meetings that any consultant might have in any one day. I'll start with meetings relating to client work because client meetings always take top priority and they lead your diary. And then I'll move to internal meetings. And as I describe them, you can start to imagine how it might feel to try and pepper these internal meetings into your client day. Okay, so first, client project meetings. I categorize these meetings into three groups. These meetings generally relate to project management or day-to-day work or team building and development. Typically, project management meetings involve more senior people, so management teams, team leads, and senior clients. The most senior project management meeting is Steerco, which might happen monthly. In this meeting, senior clients are briefed on the latest progress of the project, and their support is asked for to help drive out risks and issues. In this meeting, both clients and consultants are present. Both clients and consultants might get together for other project management meeting types too. For example, a project planning meeting, which might map out the project phases, objectives, actions, and dependencies, is typically a collaborative experience. Likewise, a risk review meeting often requires a combination of different people to help resolve risks. Some other project management meetings that only involve consultants will also take place. For example, consulting team catch-ups provide the opportunity for seniors to relay information to the team, and also for the team to raise any questions or concerns outside of client earshot. This sort of meeting can help keep a project on track by ensuring that everybody has the important information that they need. Similarly, any confidential matters relating to drafting contracts or pricing will also involve internal only meetings and will help ensure that the appropriate contractual structures are in place to allow the project to continue. So that's a sample of project management meetings. Next, let's cover day-to-day work meetings. And typically these can involve people from any level, both senior and junior. Progressing your project work might involve running client workshops to capture the right information and to map out ideas and solutions. You might also meet with your clients to ask them to review your output and provide sign-off so that you can move to your next piece of work. And it's likely that you have things like a daily stand-up in your diary so that you can meet with your team and your client and discuss progress and risks. Sometimes too, you might have a handover meeting so that your outputs can become inputs for someone else's next phase of work. And on a relatively regular basis, you might have a go-live meeting, which is where your client will review your project outputs and they will determine whether it is ready to be released to business users and/or customers. There are also some day-to-day work meetings that you'll have with only consultants. For example, you might schedule time with known experts within your firm who aren't working specifically on your project, but who you know can give you advice and guidance on something that you're working on. Or, for example, you might put time in with somebody to interview them for a role on your team so that they can either join your team in a new role or replace someone who's left. The final category of client project meetings relate to team building and development. You will and should have relatively regular one-to-ones with your direct manager who you're working for, and with your direct reports who are working for you on a day-to-day basis. These meetings give the opportunity to iron out any misunderstandings, identify areas of required support, and agree plans for growth. Similarly, you might also have client feedback meetings, which give your client the opportunity to express appreciation and thanks for your work, but also to request changes and propose new ways of working. Of course, your project team will also have team events too, sometimes with clients, sometimes without, and these events require organisation meetings too. So that's just a sample of different types of project-related meetings that you might have. And remember that outside of these meetings, you also need to be creating output too. So imagine this is what your day starts to look like. Now let's imagine how we can pepper in some internal meetings on top of that as well. There are 4 categories of internal consultant meetings, as I see it: business updates, development and learning, internal work, and community engagement. Let's step through some examples of each. Business update meetings are generally more of a broadcast meeting that you can just listen into rather than actively participate in, unless you're presenting. And as you can imagine, information can be broadcast from all levels of the firm. For example, your C-suite might be rolling out a new strategy, or your market lead might have a leadership update. The head of your department might run some sort of state of the business meeting, which keeps you all up to date on how your department is faring and whether it's meeting its objectives, and potentially asks you to do more or differently. This person might also run more informal meetings, which might involve things like a project spotlight, or introductions to new joiners, or recognition for great work. Also, depending on how senior you are within your department, you may or may not be invited to sales pipeline calls too. Development and learning meetings are more varying in nature. Sometimes you will participate, other times you might present, and other times you might just attend to listen. Let's start with the development and learning meetings that you will participate in. You will and should have one-to-ones with the person who is responsible overall for your career development. This person needs to stay on top of how you're doing, where you're going, where you want to go, and whether you need any support, so that they can appropriately represent you in performance reviews. How often you meet this person is down to the 2 of you to decide. It could be as regularly as weekly or monthly, or it could be as irregularly as biannually or yearly. You might also participate in department organised training. If there is a key skill set that has been identified as in demand with your department's clients, then there might be an opportunity to either get the department together for a training event over the course of the day where they can practice and learn together, or there might be an opportunity to send individuals off to an official or formal training course. And of course, the people who actually work out which skills are required and actually set up the courses or advise which courses to go on also require meetings to do that too. Other ways skills can be developed is by having somebody in your department actually specifically run a session to share their skills. This is often called a brown bag or a skill share. Or you can invite someone external to do the same thing. And obviously these become meetings in your diary too. And finally, but possibly most importantly, you'll have meetings relating to performance management for your people. You will attend meetings for each of your people to represent them, to tell their story, and to propose next steps that are relevant to the individual, which can sometimes include promotion. But before you can do all of that, you need to have met with each of your people regularly so that you can gather all the right information and so that you can prepare what it is that you're going to say. That's quite a lot of meetings. Our penultimate category here is community engagement. There are lots of optional activities that all require meetings that you can get involved with, whether it's organising your community social events, whether it's driving initiatives such as inclusion and diversity, or whether it's organising something like a book club or sports club with your colleagues. Lots of people like to do this because it's a way of staying in close contact with people they're not working with every day. But of course, it's all optional and it's not expected. The final category is internal work. This is something you'll most often do when you've rolled off a project and you don't have another role starting immediately. But it is worth mentioning because it's something that consultants do spend their time doing. If you've just rolled off a project, then one of the best things that you can do is write a summary of that project so that other consultants in your firm can learn from it. Also, you can scrub your project deliverables of any client-specific content and load anything that's generic and non-confidential to your internal portal so that your colleagues can use it to understand how to run similar projects in the future. Often your ex-project team will meet relatively regularly at the end of a project to discuss any of this. And the final piece of internal work that you might do, usually when you're not on a project, but often also when you are, is join a small team that's been stood up to respond to an RFP or a request for proposal. This team meets and works together to create a proposal for how they would do the work the client is requesting and what price it would be. So, taking a step back, your day might end up looking like this. And it's really not unusual to have a whole day of back to back meetings. So it ends up being really important to actually schedule time in advance in your diary to actually produce the output that you need to produce. Otherwise, you'll end up spending your evenings doing it instead. I haven't even covered all of the different meetings that could sit in each of these categories, but these are some of the main ones just to give you a sense. There's also another category, which I haven't gone through today because this is already a lot of information. But that category is meetings with third parties like technology vendors. I've got a separate video on how consultants work with technology vendors. So for now, hopefully that's given you a sense of what consultants are expected to work on and how they tag team their time between internal and external work. I have other videos which help to advise on how to choose internal versus external meetings based on the environment that you're in each day. And I also have day in the life videos which bring to life how a day pans out according to career level. But this video today should have answered some of your questions at least on how consultants generally split their time. So if you found this video useful, then let me know by clicking the like button. And if you'd like to see what I post next, then definitely subscribe to my channel and you will get updates. If you want social media links, I've posted those below. And if you have any questions or comments, then please feel free to use the comment section below and I will do my best to answer absolutely everything. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day and I wish you all the best with your exploring.